You've been called a lot of names. You've been characterized as a hero and as a villain, a martyr, terrorist.
I'm not yet a martyr.
Right.
Let's keep it that way.
Well, I suppose if you have to be under house arrest, there could be worse places.
Well, it's a gilded cage. It's still a cage. But when you're forced to stay somewhere against your will, it does become something that you want to leave.
What statements are you referring to?
The statements by the Vice President, Biden, saying, for instance, that I was a high-tech terrorist. Sarah Palin calling to our organisation to be dealt with like the Taliban and be hunted down. There's calls either for my assassination or the assassination of my staff, or for us to be kidnapped and renditioned back to the United States to be executed.
Well, as you know, we have a First Amendment and people can say whatever they want, including politicians. I don't think that many people in the United States took seriously the idea that you were a terrorist.
I would like to believe that. On the other hand, that incitements to murder are a serious issue, and unfortunately there is a portion of the population that will believe in them and may carry them out. The US does not have the technology to take the site down.
Because?
Just the way our technology is constructed, the way the internet is constructed. It's quite hard to stop things reappearing. So we've had attacks on particular domain names, little pieces of infrastructure knocked out, but we now have some 2,000 fully independent in every way websites where we are publishing around the world.
Are you a subversive?
I'm sure there are certain views amongst Hillary Clinton and her lot that we are subverting their authority. But you're right. We are subverting illegitimate authority. The question is whether the authority is legitimate or whether it is illegitimate.
Do you consider the U.S. State Department a legitimate authority?
It's legitimate insofar as its actions are legitimate. It has actions that are not legitimate.
And you've gone after the ones that you think are illegitimate?
We don't go after. That's a bit of a misconception. We don't go after a particular country. We don't go after a particular organisation or group. We just stick to our promise of publishing material that is likely to have a significant impact.
The most persistent criticism from within the press has been that you have behaved recklessly from time to time. And the example that they cite is that you decided to release Afghan documents without redacting the names of people who had provided intelligence to the U.S. government.
There's no evidence or any credible allegation, or even any allegation from an official body, that we have caused any individual at any time to come to harm in the past 4 years.
The Pentagon said that they've gone through all of these documents and they found the names of 300 people.
Well, that's new public information to us. It's possible that there are 300 names in the publicly released Afghan material. We don't pretend that that process is absolutely perfect. We did hold back 1 in 5 documents for extra harm minimisation review, and we also improved our process. So when Iraq came around, there was not even a single name in it.
I mean, there have been reports, people quoting Taliban leaders saying that they had the names of these people and that they were going to take retribution.
The Taliban is not a coherent outfit, but we don't say that it is absolutely impossible that anything we ever publish will ever result in harm. We cannot say that.
There's a perception on the part of some people who believe that your agenda right now is anti-American.
Not at all. In fact, our founding values are those of the US Revolution. They are those of people like Jefferson and Madison. And we have a number of Americans in our organisation. If you're a whistleblower and you have material that is important, we will accept it, we will defend you, and we will publish it. You can't turn away material simply because it comes from the United States. It's completely outrageous.
Are you surprised?
I am surprised, actually.
But you are screwing with the forces of nature. You have made some of the most powerful people in the world your enemies. You had to expect that they might retaliate.
Oh, no, I fully expect that they retaliate.
You gathered, you stored all sorts of classified cables and documents and then released them to the world on the internet. They see that as a threat. And they want to...
Well, they see it as highly embarrassing. I think what it's really about is keeping the illusion of control. I'm not surprised about that. I am surprised at how the sort of flagrant disregard for US traditions. That is what I'm surprised about.
You're shocked. Someone in the Australian government said that, look, if you play outside the rules, you can't expect to be protected by the rules, and you played outside the rules.
Oh,
You've played outside the United States' rules.
No, we've actually played inside the rules. We didn't go out to get the material. We operated just like any US publisher operates. So we didn't play outside the rules, we play inside the rules.
There's a special set of rules in the United States for disclosing classified information. There is.
There's a special,
long-standing.
There's a special set of rules for soldiers, for members of the State Department who are disclosing classified information. There's not a special set of rules for publishers who disclose classified information. There is the First Amendment. It covers the case. And there's been no precedent that I'm aware of in the past 50 years of prosecuting a publisher for espionage. It is just not done. Those are the rules. You do not do it.
You've called him a prisoner of conscience, correct?
I've said that if the allegations against him are true, then he is the foremost prisoner of conscience in the United States. There's no allegation it was done for money. There's no allegation it's done for any other reasons than a political reason. Now, I'm sorry if people in the United States don't want to believe that they are keeping a political prisoner. But in Bradley Manning's case, the allegations are that he engaged in an illegal activity for political motivations.
People in the United States think he's a traitor.
That's clearly not true.
Did you encourage anyone to leak this material to you, or have you done anything in connection with the U.S. cases in terms of encouraging an individual to provide you with material?
No, never.
There are people that believe that it has everything to do with the next threat, that if they don't come after you now, that what they have done is essentially endorsed a small, powerful organization with access to very powerful information, releasing it outside their control. And if they let you get away with it, then they are encouraging...
They will have to have freedom of the press.
Then they will encourage that it's encouragement to you or to some other organization.
And to every other publisher. Absolutely
Right.
correct. It will be encouragement to every other publisher to publish fearlessly. That's what it will encourage.
Publish information much more dangerous than this information.
If we're talking about creating threats to small publishers to stop them publishing, the US has lost its way. It has abrogated its founding traditions. It has thrown the First Amendment in the bin because publishers must be free to publish.
You obviously have a mistrust of authority. Where does that come from?
So I think it comes from experience with various types of authorities. Look, lady, you're out at 2 a.m. in the morning with this child. It could be suggested you're an unfit mother. I suggest you stay out of politics, and which he did for the next 10 years in order to make sure nothing happened to me. So that's a very early abuse of power and of secrecy that I saw in my life.
You've always been a little bit of an outsider.
I've certainly, when I was a child, going from one school to another, you are the outsider to begin with, and you have to find your way in. But in most of the places where I stayed for long enough, I did find my way in.
You got involved with computers pretty early, with hacking.
Well, I first became involved with computers when I was 13 or so, and I was unusually adept. I saw a sort of intellectual opportunity, understanding how to program and understanding how these complex machines work. And that was part of a social culture in cracking codes to prove that you could do it. It's very actually normal and healthy amongst young men. You see it in skateboarders that are competing to show that they are capable in learning the best tricks.
And your tricks were like breaking into computers at the Department of Defense and Los Alamos National Laboratory, NASA, Nortel, some Canadian banks.
All that happened.
Is that still one of your primary skills?
Not really. Unfortunately, I've been sort of, promoted up into management, so I don't get to do that so much. But I know the terrain, which means I know what is possible. For example, Bill Gates could program, but he certainly doesn't program anymore. But he knows what is possible for other people to do.
For somebody who abhors secrets, you run a pretty secret organization.
That's not true. What we want is transparent government, not transparent people. We are an organisation who, one of our primary goals is to keep certain things secret, to keep the identities of sources secret. Secrecy is an inherent part of our operation.
The State Department would make the same argument. They have doing very sensitive work, that they're trying to make peace and negotiate situations around the world very delicately. It's important that they do this in secrecy. What's the difference?
And we don't say that the State Department should have no secrets. That's not what we say. Rather, we say that if there are people in the State Department who say that there is some abuse going on, and there's not a proper mechanism for internal accountability and external accountability, they must have a conduit to get that out to the public. And we are the conduit.
Want me to give you my characterization of what I think people think?
Sure.
Mysterious, little weird, occult-like figure, little paranoid.
Well, you're repeating all the ad hominem attacks by our critics. My role when I do something like speak about that we have discovered the deaths of 109,000 individual people in Iraq, 15,000 civilian casualties never before reported anywhere. That's a very serious role. That is not a role where I can engage in humour. So I'm not used to performing under the spotlight, and I'm learning this as time is going by.
You have shown a fair amount of contempt for the mainstream press over the years. Why did you decide to, as you use the word, partner with them in some of these most recent releases?
We're a small organisation. We're in a position, say, with Cablegate, where we have 3,000 volumes of material that are very important to get out to the public in a responsible manner, that have the potential for great change. For example, this recent revolution in Tunisia. It is logistically impossible. So instead, our organisation delegates its excess source material to other journalists who will have more impact and who will do a better job.
There is an element of the press, most of the mainstream press, nobody wants to see you prosecuted because it could affect the way that they do their business. But there's also a feeling within the community that you're not one of them, that you play a different game.
We do play a different game, and I hope we're a new way.
The point that they're making, I think, is that you're not you're a publisher, but you're also an activist.
We're a particular type of activist. In the US context, there seems to be communist activists or something. So it's
agitator.
It's
somebody who's more interested in...
It's a dirty word in the US.
It's a dirty word. And people think that what you're trying to do is to sabotage the workings of government.
No, we're not that type of activists. We are free press activists. It's not about saving the whales. It's about giving people the information they need to support whaling or not support whaling. Why? That is the raw ingredients that is needed to make a just and civil society. And without that, you're just sailing in the dark. We're talking about Daniel Domscheit-Berg, who was a German spokesperson, had a limited role in the organisation. We had to suspend him some 5 months ago.
He describes you as being authoritarian, secretive, punitive.
I'm the boss that suspended him, that's correct.
You don't care to elaborate?
I think I just did.
You said you have this package of very damaging documents as sort of a poison pill that's going to be released if anything bad happens to you.
No, that's not at all true. That's some kind of media hype. What we do have is a system whereby we distribute encrypted backups of things we have yet to publish. There are backups distributed amongst many, many people, 100,000 people, and that all we need to do is give them an encrypted key, and they will be able to continue on.
This wasn't intended to be a blackmail threat.
Not at all.
What would trigger that encryption code being
Anything
released?
that prevented us from our ability to publish. So not just for a second, but prevented us significantly from being able to publish.
Your imprisonment, for example.
If a number of people were imprisoned or assassinated, then we would feel that we could not go on, and that other people would have to take over our work, and we would release those keys.
One bank, Bank of America, had its stock go down 3 to 5% based on a rumor, maybe it's a rumor, maybe you know more about it, that you had the contents of a 5 gigabyte hard drive belonging to one of its executives. Do you have a 5 gigabyte hard drive?
I won't make any comment in relation to that upcoming publication.
You're certainly not denying it.
Well, we're not, there'd be a process of elimination if we denied some and admitted others.
So it might not be Bank of America and you're just going to let them squirm until you get ready to...
I think it's great. We have all these banks squirming, thinking maybe it's them.
You seem to enjoy stirring things up.
Well, when you see abusive organisations suffer the consequences as a result of their abuse, and you see victims elevated, that's a very pleasurable activity to be involved in.
I mean, you see yourself as a check on the power of the United States and other big countries in the world, and in the process of doing that, you have now become powerful yourself. Who is the check on you?
It is our sources who choose to provide us with information or not, depending on how they see our actions. It is our donors who choose to give us money or not. This organisation cannot survive for more than a few months without the ongoing support of the public.